All right, Kipsters, it's Friday and we've made it to the end of the week. Today, our problems are going to be focusing on multi-step word problems. So you're going to want to make sure that you're reading these problems carefully. We're looking for those keywords that are going to help us to figure out how we should solve these problems. And we want to think about, what is that question asking me? There's going to be lots of words, but we want to try to bring that down to figure out what the question is asking us and what we really need to know from that problem. Let's take a look at our problem-solving strategies, some of the keywords, and then we'll get into our problems. As we get ready to solve these problems, let's think about our math problem-solving strategies. The first is cubes. We looked at this last week, but just a reminder, that's when we think about the key numbers. We think about what the question's asking. We look for those key words in the question to know what operation to use. We try to eliminate information we don't need, and then we solve our problem. Now let's take a look at those math keywords. Here on our second chart on the right, you can see that there's different words in addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division that help give us a clue as to what operation we should use. In a problem, if we see something like sum, total, in all together, that tells me I'm going to be using addition at some point in that problem. But if the problem's asking me for the difference or less than or takeaway or fewer, that tells me I'm going to be using subtraction. Now, if a problem's asking me for times or each or in all or the product, that's going to give me multiplication. Division comes in when it's asking me to half something or divide by or to share something equally. Now, let's take a look at our problems to see what we're going to be doing. Problem number 1 reads, Jackie Chan has 594 students in his karate school. There are 9 classes offered each week. Each student takes only 1 class per week. If each class had an equal number of students attending, how many students are in each class? I want you to reread this problem. Then, if you need to, go back to the previous slide showing the key words to help you determine what operation you should be using to solve this question. As I start this problem, I know that there's 594 total students in Jackie Chan's karate school. I know that he has 9 classes a week, and the problem is asking me how many students are in each class. Now, as I think about the keywords in this problem, the keywords are figuring out how many students are in each class because these students need to be shared equally. That means I'm going to be dividing. Since I'm going to be dividing the number of students by the 9 classes, I start by setting up my 9 groups along the left side. I then also set up my 9 divided by 594 to be able to subtract as I start sharing these students equally among my 5 groups. I'm going to start by sharing each of my place values into those 9 groups. But when I look at my 500s, I don't have enough hundreds to share them equally. So I'm going to combine my 500s with my 9 tens, and I'm going to look at 59 tens. As I share those equally among my 9 groups, I find that I can put 6 tens in each group. After sharing 6 tens in each of my 9 groups, I realize I used 54 of the 59 tens. So when I subtract that, I still have 5 tens left, but I can't put each of those 5 tens into a group equally. So I combine those with the 4 ones. So now I have 54 ones to share equally among my 9 groups. As I begin sharing those, I recognize that I can put 6 ones in each one of my groups to equally share those 54 ones. I then subtract the 54 ones that I used to find that I have 0 students left to share among the 9 classes. I then look at how many tens and ones I have in each group. I have 6 tens and 6 ones in each group, so that means that there's 66 students in each class. Now let's look at problem number 2. At the airport, there are 784 seats in the waiting areas. There are 8 separate same-size waiting areas. How many seats are in each waiting area? I want you to read this question one more time. I want you to think about what it's asking you and what you need to do in order to solve it. If you need to, go back to the beginning of the video where we talk about our problem-solving strategies and keywords. In this problem, there's 784 seats and 8 waiting areas in the airport. The problem asks me how many seats are in each waiting area. Since it wants to know how many seats are in each, this means once again, I'm going to need to divide. Once again, I set up my 784 divided by 8 by creating my 8 groups to share the 784 with on the left, and then also setting up my 784 divided by 8 in order to be able to subtract so I know how many seats I have left to share. I want to start by sharing my 700s. However, I don't have enough hundreds to share them equally. So I'm going to combine my 700s with my 8 tens. So I have 78 tens total to share equally among the 8 groups. That means that I'm going to end up putting a total of 9 tens in each group. Once I have shared my 72 tens, I subtract that from the 78 tens. I still have 6 tens that I did not share within that. So I now combine that with my 4 ones. So I now have 64 ones to share equally among my 8 groups. As I begin to share my 64 ones, I realize that I can have 8 ones in each group. I then find that I've used all 64 ones, meaning that there are no seats left. So each waiting area has 98 seats in it. Way to continue to work hard on this 5th week of our remote learning. Keep it up and keep working hard. Way to go, Kipsters.